Hey everyone, what's going on? This video was a follow-up video of some previous stuff that I have been documenting. So if you're new to this channel, I'll leave some links in the description and it'll help you understand more of what I'm talking about and why I'm talking about it. But what I talk about on this channel is signs and symbolism and also gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases. And it stems back to things such as Jewish mysticism, which is called Kabbalah, that within that has a belief that God created the world by merging the letter with the number. And there's other pieces of ancient knowledge, if you understand, you'll understand more of what I'm talking about and why I am talking about it. But I followed these signs and symbolism back in December, and I talked about how I thought Pink, the singer, would sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl, and then lo and behold, a month later, they announced that Pink would be singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. So I'll leave a link to this video and a bunch of other videos in regards to Pink that I was talking about. And there was lots of Pink symbolism, and somehow this noticing these patterns and whatever was guiding me to figure some, things out. And I just recently made another video, and the same type of synchronicity things were going on in regards to this Goldberg, the goalie, being arrested in the duck boat crash. And I even talked about how, possibly we're going to get another drowning story in the media. Then the very next day, we got this duck boat drowning story in the mainstream media that I said was synced to Goldberg, the goalie of the Mighty Ducks. And then lo and behold, Goldberg, the goalie, gets arrested. So no doubt they're using what I am talking about. And if you pay enough attention to the patterns, you know, they exist. So anyway, for whatever reason, a couple days after making this newest Pink video, I was re-looking into the story of this missing Iowa girl named Mollie Tibbetts. And I started thinking about it. I was like, in my previous video, I talked about Mollie Ringwald and how she's 50 years old, and the word pink in gematria equals 50. And she's in the movie Pretty in Pink and a bunch of other stuff. And you just have to watch that other video. But I remembered in this story, when I made a video on it that I'll leave a link to, there, if you go to this girl's Twitter, the pinned tweet, the top tweet that you see, is from back in last November. A cop followed her and thought that she was a 10-year-old girl who got kidnapped or was missing or whatever. So the cop thought she was a missing 10-year-old, and she thought it was funny and posted it on Twitter. And then, less than a year later, she actually goes missing. And what was interesting in regards to that story was that the cop thought that she was a 10-year-old missing child because she was wearing a pink coat and hat, the color pink. And if you read the story about her missing, when she went missing, she was wearing a pink sports top. And if you watch the video, I talked about how she's also synced up to the Iowa Hawkeyes. And I remembered the Iowa Hawkeyes paint their visitor locker room pink, right? They have pink walls. And I started thinking, how interesting, what does pink and walls remind you of? It reminds you of Pink Floyd and The Wall. And, the actor Bob Geldof plays the character of Pink in the movie The Wall. So before I made this post, I was on Facebook and I noticed this guy added me who I don't even know who it is. And I only have two mutual friends. One of them is a girl I graduated with who I never talked to. Probably talked to her 2 or 3 times since we graduated, really. And the other one was some girl that I barely know from Omaha. I mean, she was friends with one of my other friends. So it was weird that this guy randomly added me on Facebook. And I went to his deal before I accepted the friend request. And I noticed that he's actually from around here, and I thought maybe possibly somehow I know this guy, but I just cannot place it for the life of me. It doesn't ring a bell. I don't know this guy. And I noticed it. He's one of the co-owners of this Malvern Manor, which is like a real life haunted house. And I thought, why is this guy adding me? And I added him on Facebook, and I was thinking about ghosts, and I was sitting down at the bottom of the stairs where my chair is, and like a half hour later, my fan that I have running up in the bedroom all the time, my fan just shut off. And I was like, what the hell? There's a ghost up there. What is going on? And being the idiot thing to do in scary movies is go check it out. That's what I did. I walked upstairs, and I noticed that the extension cord that the fan is plugged in was just completely pulled out of the wall. And I thought, how? That's weird. I don't know how it happened. I told myself that possibly it was the cats or something. The cats were up here, so maybe one of the cats jumped on it and somehow it unplugged from the wall. That's what I told myself. Who knows? But the whole time I kept thinking about ghosts, and this guy had just added me, and I was thinking about ghosts. And then I noticed all this pink symbolism, and I was like, Bob Geldof. And if you remember, Bob Geldof, his daughter Peaches died a few years back, and just before she died, I even have it on my blog, but just before she died, the mainstream media was telling us about how there was a ghost in her house, and she was taking these pictures, and there was this ghost hand in the pictures, and I thought, weird. There's something going on with ghost, right? And if you remember, Bob Geldof is also famous for the song called "I Don't Like Mondays," and then his daughter ends up dying on a Monday. But I went and looked up my old post in regards to, Bob Geldof and Pink Floyd and the wall, and I talked about Donald Trump winning the presidency, and how Donald Trump wants to build the wall, and he won the election on the anniversary of the Berlin Wall coming down. And in gematria, Donald Trump equals 48. The word wall equals 48. The Mexican-American War came to an end in the year 48. Mike Pence became the 48th vice president. And this was just after the Indians were in the World Series and they lost. And the last time they won was in the year 48. And Mike Pence comes from the land of the Indian, Indiana. And his birthday's even 6/7. And Cleveland Indians equals 67. Just Cleveland equals 48. Donald Trump had his national convention in Cleveland just after King James won the NBA Finals on the real King James's birthday, and much, much more. Donald Trump has this super connection to Cleveland. And when I clicked on this post, of course, it was all about Cleveland. And if you've been following my channel, I've been talking about the Cleveland Indians a ton. The Cleveland Indians, there's something synced up to the Cleveland Indians, how it syncs up to deaths and births in my life, and the synchronicity that's going on in my own life. And another interesting thing in regards to all this with Cleveland, Bob Geldof, that song called "I Don't Like Mondays," it was actually a tribute to this shooting that happened. I Don't Like Mondays. It was a song written for a shooting at Grover Cleveland Elementary School in San Diego, California. So what are the odds of that? Pink walls, all this pink symbolism, and yet again, it's showing me something to do with Cleveland, right? Bob Geldof, his famous song is a tribute song to Grover Cleveland Elementary School. Even right now, we have the death of Aretha Franklin, and what stuck out right to me right away with Aretha Franklin dying was I talked about the movie The Blues Brothers, and through some synchronicity, and that's connected to Chicago, and that's what I've been talking about. Chicago and the Indians, and Dan Aykroyd, his birthday's 114 days for the 114th World Series. The same day, LeBron James, who equals 114, signed with the Los Angeles Lakers 114 days before the 114th World Series. We got the Cleveland National Forest Fire in California, and Cleveland National Forest, named after Grover Cleveland, and that opened on 7/1, which is Dan Aykroyd's birthday. It's also the same day LeBron James signed with the Los Angeles Lakers and whatnot. So all of the stuff connecting Cleveland to the 114th World Series. But anyway, in the Blues Brothers, if you recall, the guy who played Aretha Franklin's husband in the movie Blues Brothers, he also died this year at the age of 88, and his name was Murphy, right? Matt Murphy. Curse of the Billy Goat equals 88, what the Cubs were cursed by when the Indians lost to them in the World Series. And then the Cubs broke the curse. That equals 88, like the age of this guy. The goat that cursed them, his name was Murphy. So Matt Murphy dies at the age of 88. He's connected to the Blues Brothers, that's connected to Chicago. And then Aretha Franklin dies now, and she was his wife on that movie. But, I'll make a separate video on that. Just wanted to point out that it's connected to the stuff I'm talking about. The Indians, the Cubs. There was also another Cleveland elementary school shooting. Trying to figure it out here. I can't remember all this information, but in the description of this Cleveland elementary shooting that Bob Geldof wrote a song about, they also mentioned how almost 10 years to the day, there was another school shooting at a Cleveland elementary school, but this one was in Stockton, Stockton, California. It was on January 17th of 1989. So this other one was on January 29th of 1979. So almost 10 years to the day. And I talked about how it's located on 117 degrees west, and this one happened on 117 in Stockton, equals 117. So perfect day for that shooting to happen in Stockton. Also, I believe Ohio equals 117, right? It's a big number, that was connected to the Cavs and whatnot. So there's also been a big bridge number that I've talked about all year. So I don't know, just pointing all this out, It all connects back to Cleveland. Also, what's really interesting in regards to all this, I documented all about all this ghost stuff that's going on, and a couple hours after I made this blog post, my friend Sam texted me and he said, "Did you read my recent blog post?" And I said, "No, I really haven't. Like, I have no idea what he's talking about." And he also wrote a message later or whatever, but he literally, on Monday of that week, he wrote a blog post up about how he had synchronicity with a ghost theme. So what are the odds? I'm writing about this ghost theme. He literally writes about it on his blog about a ghost theme. Let me find it here. He must have started it earlier in the night because this is Tuesday. But, synchronicity with a ghost and the death of his uncle and whatnot. It's just craziness that, I'm documenting about this ghost theme, then he's also just documented about it as well. Before I get into all of this, I forgot to mention one thing in this post back here. I way back when I was talking about Pink possibly singing the national anthem, I also mentioned maybe we might get the death of a Pink Floyd member or something to do with Pink Floyd again. So maybe this is just what it's showing me Cleveland. Maybe we won't get the death of anybody, but in regards to the fire and water symbolism, think about Pink Floyd member Roger Waters, right? And think about Pink Floyd in regards to the moon and Monday, Moon Day, right? So there's something special with that. There's something special with Pink Floyd, the wall, the moon. Just after Donald Trump won the election, we also got that closest supermoon since the year 1948 that came on Prince Charles's birthday. and Prince Charles was born in the year 48. And, the other Charleses throughout history, the ones involved in the English Civil War, were all about the number 48. King Charles I died age 48. Charles II equals 48 in gematria. 48 is a really important number. Freemason equals 48. Also, Russia, I think, equals 48. And North Korea and Kim Jong-un, one of them, I can't remember. I mean, it's just, the list goes on with 48. 48, super duper important. It's the year Israel declared its independence on 14/5, right? That syncs up to the Cubs. That's the day Marjorie Stoneman Douglas died this year at the age of 108. That syncs up to the Cubs. I had some synchronicity with Frank Sinatra not too long ago, too. And Frank Sinatra died on the exact same day as Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. So anyway, I was looking at Sam's blog post, and he was talking about I think he was talking about the film Ghost and the song Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers. So I was like, oh yeah, I remember that movie with Patrick Swayze and whatever. Whoopi, oh man, I just figured it out. I cannot believe I didn't. Whoopi Goldberg, right? Oh my God. It's amazing when this happens. Whoopi Goldberg. This whole thing right here was all about Goldberg. The pink stuff was connected to Goldberg. Even, and it was also connected to the movie Drill Bit Taylor, where the guy gets his pinky chopped off, right? And one of the guys in that, the fat kid in that movie, he's also in the TV show called The Goldbergs. And there's the wrestler Goldberg and the Austin bomber that reminded us of Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? And then that's where Alex Jones was from. And he wore the pink gloves, but think about Stone Cold and think about Goldberg, They were very similar characters and whatnot. Oh man. Wow, I have to look more into that now. Whoopi Goldberg. Oh man, it makes so much sense. But anyway, I'm going to look more into that later tonight. But anyway, the thing that I documented about was how his last name's Moores, and in that movie that we have Demi Moore, and I just documented about the roast of Bruce Willis, and then Demi Moore came out and whatnot, so I was like, maybe there's something to do with Moores, Moore. I know a long time ago I talked about the Moors, the Moors, and when you look up the movie Ghost, you find out that Demi Moore's character's name's Mollie, right? Mollie, and I was talking about Mollie Ringwald, and then Mollie Tibbetts was the reason I even started all this blog post. Mollie Tibbetts, Mollie Ringwald. Now Demi Moore's name is Mollie, and Patrick Swayze plays the guy named Sam. Of all people to be named, his name is Sam, right? Like my friend who documented about it. Anyway, I pointed out that the lyricist to Unchained Melody, he died on 7/2, and Unchained Melody equals 72. And the guy who wrote the music for the song, Alex North, he died on Pink's birthday, 9/8 of 1991. So the version on the film Ghost was a solo song, actually, by the righteous brother named Bobby Hatfield. And when you look him up, he was actually born on the same day as Rocky Colavito. He was born on Rocky Colavito's 7th birthday. So connecting to Cleveland. The Wikipedia also mentions how it's on the film Goodfellas, and I just recently had some synchronicity with Sam and Goodfellas too. Not going to explain that, but some weird stuff with my friend Pat and whatnot. Need to think more on that. I've never seen that movie either, so need to watch that movie before I can really think about it. And some random stuff I just put in here. Like, the next day I was talking to my girlfriend about all the pink symbolism, and there was, at some point she came home and was, can't remember what it was. Something to do with the pink scrubs that she where she works at her job. She's wearing pink scrubs, I think, when she came home or something like that. But it made me think of the movie The Lovely Bones for some reason. This girl missing, and I don't know why that movie just came into my head in regards to ghosts. And I started talking about M. Night Shyamalan and whatever. And my girlfriend really loves the movie The Village, and I asked her if she's seen The Happening because for some reason I really like that movie, and it's really stupid, really. But for some reason, like I will watch it. Like that movie draws me in about the plants, killing people and whatnot. And anyway, I was just surprised that she'd never seen The Happening, and I was gonna try to have her watch it with me the next day. And I just kind of looked up the movie, and I noticed that randomly the main character, his name is Elliot Moore. So I was like, oh, Elliot Moore, Sam Morris, Demi Moore. More equals 69, just like Ghost, just like The Happening. So I don't know. I'm just like I'm saying, random stuff in here. I guarantee there's a meaning behind me randomly thinking about it. Possibly it won't come up for months, but M. Night Shyamalan was born on August 6th, the day all this pink synchronicity happened again. August 6th, that was the day that, Alex Jones got banned on Facebook and whatnot. And that was a Monday, right? And I don't like Mondays and the pink symbolism. This guy also has the movie Signs. That's all about what I'm talking about. Go back and watch that movie. This is what the movie's all about. Paying attention to signs and patterns. It doesn't talk about gematria really in the movie, but it shows you these signs and symbolism that happen every single day. And, you know, he remembers to tell Meryl to swing away because that's what his dying wife told him to tell him. And he knew that at that moment in time, it was the right time to tell him to beat up the alien, and then they ended up killing the alien with water. The movie makes really no sense. I like the movie too, but, you know, why would an alien come to Earth made of like tons of water and water's made up in the atmosphere and then they try to take it over? And somehow, yeah, it's a stupid movie. It should just moved to the lake and got it over with. But anyway, there was something to do with ghosts tonight too. I documented about ghosts. Maybe I'll talk about that, and then I got a bunch of other Pink stuff. I'm just gonna separate it up a little bit because this one's about Aerosmith and their song called Pink. Pink sinks. I had Pink sinks, but with the death of Jonathan Davis's wife today, and I don't know. There's something interesting about it. A while back with the Pink stuff, I talked about Jonathan Davis, and there was a question on Jeopardy. There was an article about Jeopardy and a question about George or John Milton's Paradise Lost, and it was like, can't remember what it was here. Gangsta's Paradise Lost was the answer or something. And when you looked up Coolio, his birthday was 8/1, and the song called Blind was also came out on August 1st, 8/1. The big bridge number that I was talking about, and the backwards R in corn, R is the 18th letter. When you do it backwards, it's an 81. And just tons of bridge, earthquake, symbolism. And the reason blind was important was because John Milton, the guy who wrote Paradise Lost, went blind, and Coolio actually sampled Stevie Wonder for Gangsta's Paradise or something like that. And think about Stevie Wonder being blind. So I have a video on it. I'll find it and leave that in the description, hopefully, if I remember. But, it was synced up to the Pink stuff, and now his wife's dying. His ex-wife, or whatever it is, she ends up dying. And, she died synced up to him like crazy, but, like, she died, what, 211 days after his birthday, his 47th birthday? The 47th prime is 211, right? And also 5 months and 1 day before his 48th birthday. Jonathan Davis equals 48. Her name equals 51. 5 months, 1 day before his birthday. I talked about too recently. I documented about South Park because in season 11, episode 4, I believe it is, they have the Russians put the bomb in Hillary Clinton's vagina, and it's all about getting the bomb to Boston, right? And the Boston Marathon and a bunch of other stuff. So, but anyway, the Korn was in a Halloween episode, reminding me of the ghost stuff, right? Korn's groovy pirate ghost mystery. And the first Halloween episode the South Park did was called Pink Eye. So I know there's something important to this. Also, his wife's name is Devin Davis, and he says that his favorite album is Korn, the first one, the self-titled that came out on October 11th of 1994. And I don't really know this guy, but he's friends on my Facebook still, and he died on October 11th, 2017, and his name's Devin Davis. And he lives in Villisca, where, or he lived in Villisca, where they had a real life axe murder house. And when that guy was added me on Facebook, I actually got them two towns mixed up. They're in the similar areas of Iowa, and I was thinking that was the same town and the same house, but really it's two different haunted house places. So I don't know. There's something to do with, ghosts again. And the only reason I even sort of know this guy, I think I met him like one time, was because when I was making rap beats and playing live guitar with my friend, we were Decipher and Bear Trap. He was signed to the same label as this guy, Batcave Records or something like that, out of Villisca, I believe. So I only sort of knew this guy, but he was friends with me on Facebook, and I still see people post stuff to him. So I don't know. For some reason, I'm getting notifications or whatever every now and then about it, and it just stuck out to me. I saw Jonathan Davis's wife named Devin Davis dying, and I look up Korn's first album, and of course, this guy died on that same date, October 11th. And then, South Park's thing is Pink Eye. Definitely something to it. Now, in the Blind, when you look up the song Blind, the single that came out on 8/1, they talk about Bridge a whole bunch in that post. Or when you read the Wikipedia, it just mentions Bridge. They changed the bridge. They did this to the bridge and whatever. So there's something with Pink and bridges. And then we just got the bridge collapse just after I talked about how whatever the pink symbolism, something that I was talking about is going to happen. I don't think I mentioned the bridge in that video. Talked about earthquakes and some other stuff. So it's still very, very here. There's a bunch of bridge stuff that's still going on. Even Aretha Franklin and the Blues Brothers, in the very beginning of that movie, they jumped the bridge, the drawbridge, and then there's the part with the Nazis on the bridge. So the bridge is really important this year. So, but we'll leave it at that. Like I said, I'll make some other videos. I need to look into Whoopi Goldberg, man. I can't believe I never put that together. Actually, you know what? We'll just look at some of these other posts here. Because I want to show the Goldberg stuff. The Goldbergs. And see, once again, Mollie. There's something to do with Mollie. There's this TV show called The Goldbergs from back in the day. And it's also known as Mollie, once again. Mollie Ringwald, Mollie Tibbetts was the whole reason that I even began this video. And then Demi Moore's name was Mollie in the movie Ghost. I don't know. Something Molly Hatchet. I talked about Leonard Skinner a while back. Molly equals the same as pink. So maybe, just picking up on some type of frequency with that. Something important about these numbers. With the Goldbergs. There's also this rapper named Little Pump. And he has a song called Molly, and on the same album, he has a song called Pinky Ring. So, you know, interesting, you know, and he's talking about ecstasy, I'm pretty sure, right? Mollie and whatnot. But in that video, or one of his famous videos, it has Charlie Sheen in it, who's, you know, Emilio Estevez's brother, that has the connections to the Mighty Ducks that I was talking about with Goldberg. And remember in Pretty in Pink, her best friend is, the character's name is Ducky, and he's also Charlie Sheen's brother on 2.5 Men. So, this guy, what is it, Josh and Drake, they're in that movie Drill Bit Taylor too as the bullies. And, you know, a Drake is a male duck. They were both in the Goldbergs. And then Goldberg, the wrestler, was even in an episode of the Goldbergs. So, there's something really important to it. Like I said, I have to go back and look. I know I talked about Goldberg as well. Goldberg was, you know, a devout Jew and he wouldn't wrestle on Yom Kippur and a bunch of other stuff. So, like, well, I really will leave it there. If I figure it out with Whoopi Goldberg, then, you know, I'll make another video. So, have a good one. Peace.